Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can or cannot. This is what happened this week, where I recap everything that went down for the week. And hello, Nick in the UK. I always love seeing the flags. Sean D, T&D, everybody else from here. Let's get into it. I'll make this snappy. Not financial advice, as always. Let's look at Bitcoin monthly returns, up 7%, and we were even a lot higher. We were up 8.5% up until a few hours ago. Bitcoin has taken a little bit of a Sunday manipulation, but it's above 116,000. It was about 116,400 not too long ago. And that's awesome. Don't panic. Yes, there was a big event in the UK today. I actually saw Elon Musk at it too. Pretty good. Anyway, other thing, we had so much happen this week. It was very exciting. Quietly, the ETFs for Bitcoin stuck in $2.4 billion. That is massive. 2.4 billion, big take-ins by big BlackRock and Fidelity and crumbs across some of the other players. But that's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. That's definitely the biggest week we've had in a very long time, which is awesome. Awesome indeed. And that'll trickle down to Bitcoin. Let's look at crypto over the last 7 days. Big week as well. We had Solana up 17%. It's good to see the cream floating to the top at last. We've been very patient, never lost faith. Avalanche up 20%, Hype up 15%, Bitcoin 4%, Ethereum flat. Even XRP moving up as well. Sometimes still a lot of mysteries in the crypto world. And no, it's not. It's not boring sideways. Weekends can be fun. The ETFs and digital asset treasury companies now own 12.3% of Bitcoin. In fact, when you assume there'll never be more than 15 million Bitcoin, that's a lot more. It's above nearly 50, over 15%, which is monstrous. And just so you know, everybody, a lot of people say, oh, I don't like the ETFs or the treasury companies. But if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have Bitcoin up 80% in the last 12 months, okay? And institutional money just over the last year have added 5% to their combined holdings. Absolutely massive. And we're still early when it comes to these treasuries. Also, this is the Gemini twins, Winklevoss twins. Both of them said on CNBS that we are going to $1 million. And these guys actually took, from what I recall, a settlement from Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook. And they took that money. I think they were on the beach in Bali. Hello, if anybody is there in Bali on the beach, I'm very jealous if you are. And they threw that money into Bitcoin. And they became billionaires from that anyway. But speaking of money, money begets money. They just raised another 425 million. And Gemini, the crypto exchange, is now valued at 3.3 billion. So these guys are even richer than before. But hey, what's a billion between brothers? Who knows? Anyway, the ticker is GEMI. I do not own it, just sharing the news. Let's look at some action as well over the last 24 hours. Hyperliquid continues to amaze. On the left chart, you've got fees over the last 24 hours. The middle, you've got bridged net flows over the last 24 hours. And on the right, you've got stablecoin supply changes over the last 24 hours. So it's interesting. Hype does more than 2 times the fees of Ethereum, and it's just a DEX blockchain. Arbitrum fuels Hype. That's why there's a lot of bridge money. When money goes into Hype, it comes from Arbitrum. That's why that number is so high now. And Solana has the biggest increase in stablecoins. ETH the lowest. ETH also the lowest in bridge flows. That means outflows. And what else? Fees. Again, winners take most. All the money is made by Hyperliquid, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, and Binance. Bitcoin as well. The rest don't do anything. It's just completely negligible. As usual, winner takes most, ladies and gentlemen. And a lot of people are very excited now about Solana. Will it reach a new all-time high before the year end? Well, Polymarket believes there's a 60% chance it will, and that's going higher. Of course, we're not that far from all-time highs anyway. We're, by my calculations, about 16% away. Is it going to go up 16% by the end of the year? The answer is, of course it is. So that's a bit silly. Sometimes the poly markets are not that good. Anywho, moving on. A lot of people that hate Solana are hoping for an outage. I have some bad news for you. They haven't had an outage in 2 years because of congestion. That's why it, going so fast. It had problems, over 2 years ago. But since then, nothing. Now, 17.16% of the validators run Firedancer, which means it's a completely separate code base, which means Solana will not go down again. If the core code from the past goes down or has a bug or something, Firedancer will be up and running. So that's great. Soon they will be coming out of beta, I imagine, probably at the end of this year. And artificial intelligence wins the month, which is super interesting. And if you look at the loser of the month, it's DPIN, down 6%. And I'm there, because that was up last month. But anyway, this is an interesting piece. Helium, which is a Solana DPIN chain, which just outpaced every blockchain in real users over the last 24 hours. 1.55 million real users. That's over 3 times the number of users that Ethereum has. Again, it's one DPIN chain on Solana, has 3 times the number of users that Ethereum has. And Ethereum is still very valuable. Again, interesting to look at. Let's look at some stocks for a minute. Big week, big breakout week for Oracle and Tesla. Thank you all for having faith in stacking. But the numbers, Tesla up 14%. The last 2 days it was going up 6%, just like a demon. Nvidia up 6%, Google 3%, Oracle 25.64%, massive. Microsoft, Meta, Broadcom flat, Amazon down 3%. So again, every asset moves on different days. You never know what's going to happen. But the big news for next week, and that is rate cuts are coming. We are 96% sure of that, which means it's in the bag. This guy, his hand will be forced to cut rates. He never got to his miraculous 2% inflation, but that doesn't matter. Rates are coming down because the job market sucks, and he just figured that out. He got a kick in the teeth last week when nearly 1 million jobs from the records over the last 2 years were just erased. So no jobs were created. Boom. And we got some people in here like NVIDIA. Woohoo, Sean D. There you are, Sean. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you for all you do, and thank you, Team D Tesla, as well. But what is interesting about NVIDIA, you mentioned NVIDIA, is a McKinsey study came out and said AI data centers will 3x by 2030, with 70% coming from AI. Basically, data center capacity will triple. And the question is, why do we care? Well, everything is AI. AI is the narrative right now for this year and next year. And also, it's great news for Tesla because megapacks are needed to power these data centers to make sure you don't blow up your GPUs. Very critical. So there'll be infinite demand as well for Tesla's megapacks. And yet again, somehow Elon is at the middle of all these different S-curves that are happening around the world. And you hear a lot of talk about the S&P 500 and there's going to be a recession and a big crash like 1987. Well, the bears are in shambles because this week the S&P 500 smashed $6,600. And when you look at this chart, you begin to understand, wow, it's just up only. Even with the dip we had in 2020, you can hardly see it now. Even the dip we had in April 2025, a great buying opportunity, you can hardly see it. The blue is the trend. The trend is up. There will be a few little dips along the way, but overall, the trend is up. If you can wait, this is a monthly chart. If you can sit out a down market for a month, it'll be back up again. The V-shaped recoveries are insane. And also, this is heavily fueled by all the increase in money printing too. But yeah, this is exponential. And speaking of AI too, a lot of people talk about, AI is going to explode and everything else. But remember, Musk Industries have half of all the AI compute on the planet. Okay, half. And they're building their own inference chips coming next. And there's still a lot of debate out there. People, the TradFi people, are still confused by the market cap of Tesla versus NVIDIA. But remember, we've got good thing. We got people like Bill Gurley from the BG podcast, which is awesome. And he said, if you study equity valuation theory, most models, such as discounted cash flows, include the idea of optionality. And that represents a probability or odds that a company might be successful in new endeavors. No one ranks higher on that dimension than Elon Musk, not even close. Bill Gurley, thank you for sharing that little piece of wisdom there. I count 12 extremely profitable businesses within one company called Tesla. 12. Energy alone that I mentioned, Megapac's worth $1 trillion, in my opinion. And AI capex is also going to explode. But this chart from Goldman Sachs elects not to include Musk Industries, how much they've spent and how much they will spend. Again, they are ripping. But it's not about how much you spend. It's about how efficiently you spend it and how you leverage what you spend. And nobody is more capital efficient either than Elon Musk. But you can see here, Oracle, that has $500 billion worth of backlogs through 2030, shot up 40% this week at one stage. Microsoft's going to spend a lot, but they might be cutting that back. Google going to spend a lot. Meta going to spend a lot. Amazon are going to spend the most by 2026, according to this chart. But the question is, will they win AI? The answer is we already know who the winner is. And let's talk about the money flywheel. Again, talking about AI. This is a cool chart here from Yushen Jin. How money works. OpenAI signs a $300 billion GPU deal with Oracle. Okay. Larry Ellison, CEO of Oracle, gains $100 billion. No GPUs are shipped. Larry invests in OpenAI's $1 trillion round. Sam Altman uses $300 billion to pay Oracle. Oracle stock pumps again. Larry makes another $100 billion. Larry invests in OpenAI. Flywheel go burr. I thought that was so beautiful. It's just basically the same money going from one pocket to another, boosting valuations, feeding each other. That's just a classic AI flywheel. And you're going to see a lot more of that too as well. You got to be on the right side of history in this AI revolution. And finally, meme du jour. Shout out to Jeff Lutz who shared this. I edited a little bit because the numbers are a little bit out of date. But at $210, everybody was throwing in the towel saying brand damage, declining sales, it's going to zero. And then at $395, nearly doubling since April, the stock. Everybody's now buy. So I hope you're all on the Tesla train. It's been a fun ride. Thank you all for coming as well. I hope everybody's doing well. Happy Saturday. Now I'll go work on the Q&A for tomorrow. I made it quick and fast, 12 minutes a day, record time. But that was what happened this week. Next week is going to be bonkers with the rate cuts. And by the way, this is interesting. A question regarding my IA9 video. I do have it. I do have the valuations, but all the charts are so high right now. You know, it's so scary. All the names that are in my AI9 have just gone to the moon. And I wish I had gotten into it a little earlier, like a month or so ago, but it took me time to build the price prediction models for 2030 and the allocation mechanism as well. But it's almost ready. But I feel guilty now sharing now because some of these things are too expensive to buy, in my opinion. So you have to maybe wait for dips. That's the IA9. It is coming. Latu, thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.